So welcome to our session. So this is the first of 2 sessions for the Engage Buddies. My name is Naomi Hiscock. I trained as a mechanical engineer, and then I retrained as a primary school teacher, and I taught in Tower Hamlets in London for a number of years, and then I worked for Hackney Local Authority as a science consultant, and then I set up my own company, Primary STEM Education Consultancy, and we provide support to subject leaders and teachers around science and D&T. And I've also worked with the team that produced the plan resources, if you're familiar with those. I've been a regional support organisation for CREST for a number of years, and have actually been involved in CREST for about 20 years, including having run CREST Awards at my daughter's school when I was a governor as well. So that's a little bit about me. So what we're going to do this afternoon is I'm going to take you through what the awards are for primaries, primary children, and then very quickly how you will submit for the awards, take you through all the different resources that are available for running CREST Awards in your school, and then a little bit of time to share some ways of modifying the activities. If you've got any questions, please do pop them on the chat, or at the end we can answer any questions. Okay, so firstly, what are the primary awards? So there are a range of different awards for different ages through from year 3-year-olds all the way through to A-level students, and all of the awards follow these guiding principles. So the pupils should be thinking about doing science in a real world context. So what they're doing, they should be able to relate to the world around them. There will be a lot of problem solving happening. They will be working independently. That doesn't mean on their own, but the idea of CREST Awards is that the pupils are given more choice, more freedom to decide what they're going to do and how they're going to do it and how they might record things. Whereas obviously in the primary classroom, we've sort of got to guide that a lot more. So that's an important distinction with the CREST resources, is that independence that we're trying to foster. And part of that independence will involve them working creatively in their thinking and in their planning and the way that they carry things out. Another really important aspect of the CREST Awards is that the students should be sharing what they have found out. So that may be sharing with each other as part of the group. It might be sharing with their parents when they go home. It could be sharing with other people in the school in a number of different ways. But that sharing what they've been doing is really important. Decision making, again, is important. That part of their independence is making decisions. And then it's practical, whether that is science practical or it's D&T practical. It's practical in nature. It's not just sitting around learning things. It should be actively involved in things. And it should be encouraging them to reflect on what they've learned and how they've achieved. And on occasions, it may be that they need to do some additional pieces of research, although that's going to happen more as we get further up the primary school or into secondary. So those are the guiding principles, and those are useful for you to know about, because you don't have to just stick to the CREST resources. You can include other activities in your selection of activities for the children to gain a CREST award, but they would have to follow those guiding principles. So you can adapt and you can add in so long as it meets those CREST principles. Okay, so as I said, there are different levels or different types of award that the children can achieve. So there are the STAR and Superstar activities. STAR is for 3 to 7 year olds. So they've been, it used to be 5 to 7 year olds. They've now there are a number of activities that have been added in for early years or adapted for early years, and I will show you those in a little while. And then there are Superstar, which is your Key Stage 2 pupils, 7 to 11-year-olds. And you can, of course, use a STAR activity for Superstar. You would just need to add in a little bit more independence, add in different ways of recording. So there's still that flexibility. You can adapt the resources to what you want to achieve. But to achieve their award, the pupils must complete between 6 and 8 activities. Each activity is about an hour, and they have been deliberately designed to be easy to resource and easy to deliver. So most of the resources will be things that are lying around in the school that you can find quite easily, or you can just get from a local supermarket. And then the resources are designed to be delivered by non-specialists. So it could be that you've got teaching assistants that are interested in running a club or something, or you could have parents that could come in, or in fact you can have older students delivering the club to younger students. So the resources are deliberately designed to be easy to do. If you're running a club, then you don't want to spend hours resourcing and trying to work out what to do. So they're deliberately designed to be able to pick up and run with nice and easily. Then there are also Discovery Awards, which are suitable for 10 to 14-year-olds. So these bridge the gap between the transition between primary and secondary school. So this would be typically for your year 6s, but occasionally it may be appropriate for your year 5s to do this as well. This is one project. It's an open-ended, student-led, inquiry-based project, again linked to the real world. This is often done as part of a STEM enrichment day. So it could be a science day or a DT day or a STEM day. And it can also be done as part of a transition project. So they're doing it in primary schools with secondary support, or going into a secondary school and doing it as well. But you can see those same skills start to come up, that we've got decision making, for instance, problem solving, communication, but then they're also expected to take more of a role in the planning side of things, and they very much work together as a team and have different roles that they play in that team. So very similar, same guiding principles, but will feel slightly different. Okay, so I'm just going to very, very quickly talk through the submission process, which is very, very simple. So this is not a hurdle at all for you. So as far as STAR and Superstar is concerned, you can see there that it's £1 per pupil, but you have hopefully probably had a bursary to cover the cost of that. So you sign up for your free account, which is easy to do. You choose the activities that you're going to run, you run your activities, then on the website, or you record what activities you have completed. You need to record which pupils have completed each activity, just to make sure that they have all completed 6 to 8 activities. So you may well, for instance, run your club for 8 weeks, and that allows for some children to be off or not attend the club every single week. So you just need some sort of register that shows that which pupils have attended which club. Then you just check that they've all were there and that they engaged in the activity, and then you can certify them. So you just go onto the website, and you will be asked to provide some basic information about your overall gender, ethnicity, that sort of thing. You pay for the awards and the certificates are sent out to you. So it's very, very simple process. You don't have to put the names of all the pupils in or anything like that. The certificates come out and you can just stick the names on them yourself. It's slightly different for the Discovery Award. The cost is different. You also need to have a minimum of 5. I should have said for the Superstar and Star, you need to have a minimum order of 10. But often you'll either be running it in the class, in which case it'll be more than that, or usually a club will have probably 12 to 15 people in it. So for the Discovery Award, the minimum is 5. You can order your certificates in advance, and when you pay for them, they will come through to you, or you can order them when you complete, and then you are obviously paying for the ones that are actually completed. You can have them delivered blank, so you can complete them later, or you can have them completed for you with the student's name. So it depends how you want to do it. You will get your certificates once you have paid for the awards. And again, you do have, you are requested to send the information about gender, ethnicity, and that sort of thing. So that should not be a tricky process, and there's lots of there's guidance online as to how to complete that if you struggle. Okay, so now I want to spend some time sharing with you the different resources that are available. So there is a new pack that is available, which is designed specifically for early years children. And it's all based around Earth and Beyond, because many settings will have a topic at some point through the year where they'll be learning about space. And so these activities are designed to slot into what the setting is already providing. So they may well be doing very similar activities, or they'll be reading stories around space, and then these activities can slot into that provision. So there are 8 activities that have been specifically designed. School Spotters is about the children thinking about where their school is on the Earth. Rocket Reach gets the pupils to think about the distance between Earth and the Moon, just to try and get that idea of scale. Lunar Landing is about how to think about landing something safely on the Moon. Crater Creators is thinking about the surface of the moon and the craters and that sort of thing. Galactic Gardeners gets the children doing some planting and thinking about growing things both on Earth and on the moon. Constellation Counter is thinking about the sky at night and looking at the patterns in the stars and that sort of thing. Mask Makers is about designing an eye mask to keep out the light so they can sleep. And then Astronaut Antics gets them to think about what it would be like to be in space. So those activities are very easy to slot into the early years provision. Each of those, well, for that pack, there is an introductory video that explains the different activities, and then for each activity there is a demonstration video so that it's really clear to the adult that's leading it what they're doing, what they're trying to achieve. There's also an organizer card that gives these instructions as well, rather than watching the video, or as an extra aide-memoire. And then there are templates that the children may be using to complete things. And then there is a set of presentation slides. So these have been designed to either be used as part of a group work, perhaps at a table with the iPad, where the teacher, the adult, is going through the slides and looking at them. You can see there that the slides are there's not a lot of writing on them. They're very visual, so they should be quite appealing to the young children. And it just means that the teacher's got something to guide them through the activity. Or it could be done as a whole class session, very quick whole class session, and then the children can go off and do their activities independently following that. So that's the specific early years pack around space. And then 8 of the STAR activities have been deliberately adapted for early years. So you can see the 8 that have been chosen there. Animal Adventure is simply about going outside and finding little mini beasts and animals. Be Seen, Be Safe is about thinking about reflective materials to help being seen in the dark. Peggy Problem is thinking about which pegs are good for holding things on a washing line. Plant Detectives is going outside and looking for plants, particularly in unusual places like cracks in the concrete and that sort of thing. Sneaky Shadows is all about shadows, as you would imagine. Sniffly Sneezes is thinking about which materials are good for blowing your nose onto. Testing timers is trying to create a sand timer that can be used to measure a minute. And then useless umbrellas is thinking about materials that can be used for umbrellas. So those activities have been adapted down. For each of those activities, again, there is a demonstration video, because quite often you just need to see something. In an ideal world, teachers should be trying, or the adults should be trying the activities out first, just to check that the resources do work. But it's also useful to have somebody else just show it to you very quickly first. So they're very short videos. They also sort of highlight any, just be careful of type of things. And then these have got new resources to support them. So there are, again, new teacher resource cards, and the got new characters and all that sort of thing. And again, you can see there's an adult resource and also the child's resource as well. But there's And then there are, again, slides that are designed to be attractive and appealing, a few words on them, and will again just guide the adult through. So these new resources, they're not all available online yet, so they should be online after Easter, according to the information I've got. So they should be available fairly soon. So those are the special resources that have been adapted down to early years. And then for Star and Superstar, all of the activities have two resources that go with them. So you've got the organizer card and the activity card. So the organizer card gives the adult everything they need to know, the resources they need, what resources, what they need to do, keywords that they might want to use and share with the children, any health and safety bits and pieces, and questions to guide the children with their thinking. And then there's also the pupil card, which is the one on the left there, which just guides the pupil through the activity. And you'll notice that each activity, and you can see, you can't read it there, but on there, that's the little scenario that presents the problem that the children will be solving whilst doing the activity. So all of these resources start from a story to put it in a context. There are some additional superstars. So there's a pack of resources, which has got about 30 or so different ideas. And then there are some specific additional resources as well, which are worth having a look at. So there's one around DNA and the world around you, and one also around the Eurotunnel. So those are worth having a look at as well for additional ideas. The discovery resources are slightly different. There is a teacher's guide to getting started, and then each pack has a teacher's guide, and then there is a discovery passport, and this is what the pupils would be filling in. So there is more of an expectation that the pupils do actually engage fully in the process and do think about what they're doing and how they're doing it. So they're asked to record that. Obviously, if your pupils are not able to record in that way, it may be that you record it for them, or they could record it verbally. So again, there's a range of ideas, ready-made discovery activities that you can download, and they have the teacher pack, the student pack, and any other resources that are required for it. So paper templates and resources like that are all available. Again, there are some additional resources. There are partner resources that are resources produced by other organisations, and these activities all meet those CREST principles that we talked about right at the beginning. So NFU have some resources, STEM to Prize resources, which involve thinking about what farmers do and creating growing growing ingredients and creating food products or other products as well. And then the squash tomato challenge is from Practical Action website. There's lots of different activities. Some of them are sort of superstar, some of them will be discovery, where the children think about problems that people in developing countries experience. And then Practical Action actually works with the people out in those countries to solve the problems for themselves. And then the children have a go at solving the problem, and then they can see how the problem has been solved by the people living in that community. So those are nice project ideas. So just for the last couple of minutes, I just want to reiterate something that I said earlier, that the resources are there for you to adapt in any way that means that you can use them in an appropriate way for the children in your setting. So it's absolutely fine to adapt things in whatever way you need, so long as you are still fulfilling those principles. The children are still making decisions, they are problem solving, they are working independently of you, although they may well be working together as a group. You are giving them opportunities to share what they have found. So you can adapt things though to suit what your children need. I'm just going to share a few things that the mentors that you may end up working with have done to try and ensure that all pupils were able to access and gain the CREST Awards. So Charlie was working, or is working, in a one form entry school, and she decided that all the pupils would actually work towards gaining a CREST Award. And you can see there that she's got high levels of pupil premium children. So what she really focused on was thinking about, well, what does this look like? It was being run during class time. So it was the normal sort of, how do we scaffold and support those students that need extra help? So for instance, by providing them tables to fill in, providing different resources for them to use, different measuring devices where appropriate, all of that sort of thing. She also found that it was quite helpful if you're lucky enough to have a teaching assistant. Sometimes the teaching assistant was able to work with small groups of children in advance of the activity so that they could have a little bit of pre-teaching around the vocabulary that they would be using or the equipment that they would be using and that sort of thing. And then just being flexible on the time that sometimes some pupils will need longer. That may be because it takes them longer to do things, or it may be because they actually get more engrossed in something and want to spend more time on it. So sometimes it's your less able pupils that need longer, and then sometimes it's your more able pupils, and quite often that's actually the case. It's the more able pupils want to spend longer on something, and so they may take an activity and go back to it the next time, whereas other children may actually only spend a shorter period of time and want to move on to something else. So that flexibility of time is absolutely fine. She wanted them to be able to share what they were doing at a science fair. So she was aware that this was something that they were going to be preparing an activity at home and then bringing it into the science fair. But she was very aware that some of the pupils, particularly those of with pupil premium, it was mostly those pupils she knew would not have the support at home. So she then ran a science club inviting those pupils specifically, and that was done using the funding that she'd applied for, so that actually she could work with those pupils to think about their project and get their project ready for sharing, which I think is really lovely, because it's those children that really benefit. And if they don't have the support from home, then we need to think about how we can provide that support for them. So they were basically handpicked to come along to the science club. And then she also invited STEM ambassadors from STEM Learning to come in, and they worked with some pupils one-to-one, and so that they could have sharing experience. And then also she had STEM ambassadors from within the school, so older pupils who would work with younger pupils and that sort of thing. So that was just the way that she ran it, because it was whole school. And then Lucy was running it as a club, but it was a very mixed ability club. So she adapted the activities. So you can see there were two activities, which are the STAR activities. So these were Key Stage 1 pupils. So the Rainbow Collector, they just basically go out and find natural objects that are different colours. And the idea is that they collect them and stick them onto the template that you can see there. It can just be that they stick the colours of the rainbow. She made sure that the children had the colours written in the colour on that piece so they could stick it in. They worked in mixed ability pairs, and some of them had those double-sided sticky tape already on there. Some of them were able to add it for themselves. So just very simple ways of adapting it, but they're still all able to do the same activity. With the useless umbrellas, some children were able to cut the pieces of material that they were going to use. Others needed to have it pre-cut. Putting the elastic bands over the beaker and the material is quite tricky for some children, so some children needed help with that. Again, putting the children in mixed ability groups means that they can support and do that peer-to-peer support. And then also lots of modelling, and this is just good teaching, that the children need to be shown how to use a pipette, how to put the drop onto the water, how to observe onto the material, how to observe what happens. And they need lots of practice. So they may need to practice putting drops of water onto the table first. So they're really practice with those fine motor skills before they start with the materials. Okay, right, I have whistle-stopped tour of everything there. So I'm just going to pause and see whether you have any questions. If you do, please do pop it onto the chat, or if needs be, if you can't access a chat and you do have a question, please do unmute yourself and just ask your question.
Thank you so much for that, Naomi. Just while people have a chance to think, I was just going to add that I've put the link for our Buddies webpage in the chat. Just if anyone wants to get in touch with Charlie or Lucy, they can do so from there. I'll also pop it in the email that goes with this recording. So if anyone wants to reach out to them or some of our other buddies, that's available. And just also that if anyone is watching this recording and has questions, they can always get in touch with us at CREST at BritishScienceAssociation.org, and we're happy to answer people's questions at any time.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. Okay, thank you very much.